Live with Liv. For this week, I've taken the Department of Homeland Security approximately 2-hour video and condensed it into a few minutes. Run, hide, fight is the national standard, and the active shooter pocket guide you're about to see came from the Tennessee Homeland Security website, which came from the Department of Homeland Security website. I want you to see the Department of Homeland Security experts and those they consult as experts. Everyone in this video will either say to train, to be prepared, why that is, or run, hide, fight. DHS does not give guidance on how do you run, hide, fight. Security assessments, they say seek professionals. And DHS's recommended emergency action plan go by general recommendations. Unfortunately, these guidelines have general recommendations and statements such as develop a, or identify, or coordinate, train, or provide, or take into account persons with disabilities.
It's a lot more difficult to run, hide, and fight when you've got a 40-pound chair or something like that. I believe it's important that people know how to help.
And that's why with the L.I.V.E program I created detailed step-by-step how to do it for handicapped and special needs persons.
The single most important thing we can do is to prepare. Set realistic expectations of worst-case scenarios.
You have to be an active participant in your own security. You can't just rely on guards, law enforcement, first responders.
I got to meet her. I said, well, why didn't you try to tie him up or fight? She said, well, nobody told me I could fight. I didn't know what to do. We were always told to just go hide somewhere.
What saved lives that day was the employees of the Columbia Mall, the patrons of Columbia Mall, and their preparations prior to the event that actually saved lives.
Now our threats are far less physical, they're psychological. And the wisdom of the body is at the sacrifice of the brain. So that fight or flight response now is working against us from the cognitive standpoint. At best, paralyzed, which now makes you vulnerable to everything. You do not know what to do to protect yourself. That is the worst of all situations.
A lot of the confusion comes from not training. You don't have time to think. You don't have time to observe, orient, decide what you're going to do, and then act. It was all reflexive. It was all training-based. If I had to think about it, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Knowing that you have something that you're capable of doing in response to that stimulus can be super valuable.
Prepare people have a prescribed set of behaviors that are geared toward their survival. And it would kick in second nature, especially if what you do in that moment is the difference between life and death.
All of your training comes to one 5-second snapshot of your life.
As Dr. George Everly indicates, the training process can turn that fear into positive action.
We need to take anxiety, turn it into fear, and then manage it, which sounds a little ridiculous. But anxiety is the mismatch between expectations and reality. In retrospect, employees will say, we should have prepared for that.
Great day. God bless.
What's important about this program to me is the how. It's very intuitive and easy to understand.
How we would escape, what those techniques consist of.
Practical application to it, third grade up to a senior in high school. Why you do it, the how you do it, that's the most crucial part.
It's not enough to know what, you must know how to live.